Almost every civilization on Earth created some version of heaven and hell. Different names, different images, same structure. Ancient Egypt had the Field of Reeds and the Devourer Amit. The Greeks had Elysium and Tartarus. Zoroastrianism had the Chinvad Bridge. Hinduism has Svarga and Naraka. Buddhism has multiple hell realms. Christianity and Islam have heaven and hell, Jannah and Jahannam. Across continents and centuries, human cultures independently arrived at the same idea. After death, you are judged, you are sorted, you are rewarded or punished forever. This pattern is so consistent that it deserves a question. Not is it true, but why does this idea appear everywhere? Because heaven and hell solve several problems at once. They address our fear of death. They promise justice where the world feels unjust. They create moral order when there is no visible enforcement. And they extend authority beyond the reach of any human power. If no one is watching you, heaven is watching you. If no one can punish you, hell will. Heaven and hell make behavior manageable even when no one is present. They turn the future into a lever that controls the present. And that is why these ideas emerge not just in religion, but in every system that needs obedience without constant force. They create internal surveillance. You don't need guards if people watch themselves. You don't need chains if people police their own thoughts. You don't need violence if guilt does the work. Heaven and hell are not just beliefs, they are behavioral architectures. And here's the part most people never notice. You don't need to believe in heaven or hell for them to still shape your behavior. Because the mechanism they use is older than religion. It's the promise of reward and the threat of loss. You see it in schools, in workplaces, in social media, in politics. Grades replace heaven, failure replaces hell, approval replaces salvation, rejection replaces damnation. The structure never disappeared, it just changed costumes. So when we talk about heaven and hell, we're not talking about ancient mythology, we're talking about the template every control system still uses. Which means this story is not about the past, it's about you. This is why institutions throughout history align themselves with the afterlife narrative. If you control the story of eternity, you control the present. You can justify hierarchies, you can sanctify suffering. You can explain inequality as cosmic order, you can frame obedience as virtue and rebellion as evil. And most importantly, you can move responsibility away from systems and into individuals. If someone is poor, it's their spiritual failure. If someone is suffering, it's their karma. If someone is oppressed, it's part of a divine plan. The system disappears behind the story, and the story becomes unquestionable. Psychologically, this has a cost. It produces chronic guilt, fear-based identity, suppressed doubt, and an externalized sense of right and wrong. People stop listening to their own perception. They outsource their moral compass, not to wisdom, but to reward and punishment. That is not growth, that is conditioning. Now here's where it gets interesting. There is a counter-tradition in human spirituality that completely rejects heaven and hell as destinations. In this view, heaven and hell are not places you go, they are states of consciousness. Heaven is clarity, integration, presence, alignment. Hell is fragmentation, fear, ignorance, disconnection. Not after death, but now, this perspective appears in Gnosticism, in certain Buddhist teachings, in mystical Christianity, in Sufism, and in non-dual philosophies. It suggests that salvation is not about obedience. It's about awakening, not about pleasing an external judge, but about seeing clearly. In this view, the real prison is not hell. It's unconsciousness, and the real heaven is not a reward, it's freedom from fear. So the question is not whether heaven and hell exist, the question is what they do. Do they liberate people, or do they manage them? Do they awaken responsibility, or replace it? Do they create love, or leverage fear? And finally, this question, if heaven and hell disappeared tomorrow, what would guide human behavior? Fear of punishment, hope for reward, or something deeper, something quieter, something that doesn't need a threat, something that doesn't need a promise, something that only works when you are awake?